Hello and welcome to Everyday Bonsai. Today I was going to do a slightly different episode. So this is going to be about building a Japanese garden. So we've just got a consent approval for an extension of our house, which is an old state house on the North Shore in Auckland. And at the same time as building that or starting that in a few months' time, I was going to start now already at the back of the house on a garden, which is supposed to incorporate the garden that we've got now, with a whole lot of different things in it, veggies and fruit trees and kind of play areas, but actually really kind of start to transform it into a Japanese garden. So it's going to have a tokonoma area, Japanese display area. It's going to have a whole lot of decorative elements. It's going to change the boggy lawn into something more useful, the boggy lawn that we get in winter all the time. And it's going to have a Japanese water fountain and a whole lot of more bonsai areas, bonsai display areas, bonsai stands. So I was just gonna have a look at that and talk you through how I'm going to do that, and I hope you get something out of it. All right, let's get straight into it. So this is roughly where the extension is going to be. We're going to do it in two parts, and doing the first part roughly where the trampoline is there, kind of the size of a double garage, and then connecting it to the old house. And it's going to just give us two more bedrooms, a lounge and a bathroom. But the interesting part is probably now the gardening part. That's where I'm going to start now. And this is kind of the old driveway from the 50s, I believe, or late 40s, when they've done it, and they've done it in two pours here, and they're just going to do this straight line here as a starting point, and we're just going to park the car on this side, and on from here on this is just going to be a path. So you can see there's a whole lot of plants there, but it's actually a full driveway. I'm going to cut slots in the concrete 100 mils wide and kind of fill them up with nice decorative pebbles, and then I'm going to have strips of concrete of about sometimes 800 mils to walk on, like similar to stepping stones, but they run all the way from the fence to the house. And so sometimes they're 800, then 600, then 400, then 700 again, and so on, right to the end, right to the garage there. You can see a whole lot of plants here just kind of waiting to be bonsaied or planted up, and I've got a few stepping stones here, or landscape stones, collected from the local beaches around here, which is always very handy and a very cost-effective way of getting those. So every time I go on a walk, I kind of collect 2 or 3 and put them in the car, and over a few months it's mounted up quite a bit. You can see I've put a whole lot of other ones in the garden when I just get around the corner there. So there's a big old pururi tree also in a pot that I'm going to be planting as a landscape tree. There's a few trees in the ground here just as a kind of hedge or visible barrier. This is a nice old dissected maple, which I'm also going to be using as a landscape tree. And once you get it around the corner here, so the rubbish bins are going to disappear, and we're going to put them in an enclosure at the front, where that green and that blue bucket is. That's where I want to put a tokonoma as a Japanese display for bonsai. And yeah, as I said, like I want to run the concrete still all the way to the end of the garage there in those strips, and then the pebbles in between, they are then going to be used for the whole surface where the grass is here, roughly to the end of the garage or where the deck is there. And I put those stepping stones in there for the moment, just as a in between step, because the grass got so boggy in winter that it was just a bog to walk through, and it was just made it a whole lot easier. So pebbles from the edge of that shelf right to the garage, and a few meters in, kind of roughly where those steps go up to the deck. It's all going to be pebbles and just some stepping stones through. And then more grass here in this area. This is kind of my deck, which is going to remain as a kind of planting deck, nursery. I've got a whole lot of manukas and carnukas there, totoras, jacarandas, a whole lot of junipers as well, and Scots pines and cedar trees, all sorts of trees. This one is a nice old feijoa tree, which is nicely in flower at the moment, and the first fruit are already starting to form. And I've just started here, as you can see, and have taken the grass away. This is the old kikuyu grass, which just goes everywhere here on the North Shore and has been planted by council, because as I said, this is an old state house, and it's a bit of a nuisance to take that out. But I'm just doing it with a spade at the moment, and it's hard work, but it's all right, because I've experienced that with other grass where you basically just cut a slot in it, as I've done here along that line, and then maybe another foot further another one, and then you basically just roll it up, and it's super easy. Whereas here it just doesn't work like that, because the roots are so deep into the ground, there's nothing that pulls them up, so you have to get the spade underneath it, very shallow under the grass, and then just kind of cut the roots off, and it works. So in this area, this is going to run from that point all the way to kind of the end of that first planter there. And I'm going to use the height of one of those planks to form a planter bed, and then have veggies planted in between those trees. So the veggies that we've got now, and a bit more that we want to make them part of the garden as well, and it kind of all needs to work together and blend together. The trees are all going to remain, and I mean, they're kind of a few years old now, getting a whole lot bigger. In the meantime, I then want to use probably the height of 2 planks, as I've done here, for another planter bed that is parallel to that one at the fence closer to us, that runs about 7 meters down to probably roughly where that apple tree is there, that is just starting to flower as well. Then have pebbles in between there, so it's nice to kind of walk on, and it gets the bogginess in winter away and makes it a nice walkable area. So I take those pebbles in between those 2 planter beds all the way further along there, and then where these 2 planter beds are in that corner, also just going to be fully pebbled, with a drainage aggregate underneath it, so that it's not getting boggy in winter. And then this, where the compost bin is there in that corner, that's where I want to have the Japanese water fountain, and have kind of 1 or 2 landscape trees. So I was hoping to get 1 maple tree in there, and yeah, see how that goes. Maples don't usually do that well here because it gets so windy, because it's so coastal. Gets so windy and gets so hot in summer that they don't do super well, but I will give it a shot anyway. The fence is going to be painted black or a nice dark brown, so that it's going to be a nice backdrop for a whole lot more bonsais, and then kind of bonsai stands along here in the pebbles as well, because I always find it a bit of a pain to use the whippersnipper like in these areas, which is just super messy, where you always have to get the whippersnipper and cut the grass along there. And I want to have those posts in the pebbled areas, so that I don't have to do that anymore, and that it gives a really nice clean edge along here. And the edge is going to be, I think I'm going to do it from macrocarpa. So these planter beds, so this is a thinner wood. It's like, I think it's 25 mils. These ones are 50 mils. I think I'm going to use the 50 mil as the planting edges all the way around the garden. And yeah, those stepping stones remain here through the grass. And I think it's just going to be a really nice little project. So just to show you on the plan here, this is the area where I took the video from, kind of looking at the main entry, which is here of our house. So this is the existing house. This is the extension. And none of this is built yet. So mainly the gray areas are the ones that are not built yet. Everything that is kind of magenta is built. So the garage, you've seen the timber deck, you've seen the bins were like supposed to be in an enclosure here. This is supposed to be a landscape area, and we were going to leave this as lawn for now. And these are those strips of concrete that I was telling you about. So there's concrete to be cut back to where you can see here boundary. That's the fence line, the timber fence. These ones are already planted. I think I mentioned those, said that they're a bit of a privacy screen towards the neighbors. And at the moment, these are all those plants that are in pots on the driveway. So I was going to cut the concrete back all the way to this line and have this as a planting area. And these ones will be planted with various kinds of pittosporums, as well as probably totoras and manukas, and maybe some budokawas as well. And then these strips that I mentioned, so these slots are going to be filled kind of like 100 mils wide. They're going to be filled with nice decorative pebbles. And then this is probably 800 mils wide, and then I don't know, 600 or something like that, and then 700, and this is 300, and then again, so getting a bit of a rhythm going there. And this is going to be cut short and going to have a ground cover in it, ground cover here as well. So just a ground cover that can kind of creep over the walkway. Along here, I might just put some bonsai benches to join up with this one, maybe even along here. And then, yeah, as you come down here towards the garage, there's the tokonoma area here. I indicated some of those stepping stones up the steps here to the deck. And this is going to be pebbles and a clothesline, a planter bed with just some flowers, maybe some palms. this is the edge of all of the borders. So grass in all of this area here, all the way back at the back of the garage to the fence line. A planter here that already exists as well. And then this is going to be, all of this area is going to be pebbles, 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 pebbles around here as well, around here. Then the planter bed along here. This one is the one that I started just digging out and ending it here. And then this area is supposed to be really kind of nice Japanesey area with bonsai displayed against the dark fence, so that's going to be a nice backdrop. And then I was going to have some of those rocks, some of those sandstones at the back of the water feature, and then the water feature is just going to be one of those like the bamboo fountain. So it's going to be a wine barrel that I'm just going to pick up today, and then it's going to have bamboo spouts that just flow over the edge and create a nice little water feature, maybe even some fish in it to a certain degree. Garden tree here, so that's going to be a feature tree, a nice little bench, another creeper on the pebbles. This is going to be a nice feature tree, which I was hoping to have a large jacaranda for, which I've already got. A nice little, maybe a cherry tree or something like that here, and maybe another Japanese maple next to the tokonoma. So yeah, and then just to mention again where I think we can save a whole lot of money. So we just try to value engineer all the time to make this as cost effective as possible. Initially, because it's such a boggy plot of land, we were going to have surface drainage all over the property, but it is just so expensive that we just kept away from it, and it's not worth the money that we would spend for it. So I think we came up with a solution where, as I said, like we have this pebbled area which is just going to have drainage aggregate underneath it, and then the water, because it's on a gentle slope down, will just naturally just flow off the property. At least in those areas. This is still going to be boggy, but we just have some stepping stones through it, so that's totally fine. And then you can basically walk along here on the concrete onto the pebbles, and can just basically walk all the way around here without being bothered by the bogginess of the grass. So that's one area where I think we save a whole lot of money. Initially, I wanted to have this all as pebbles as well, but then I thought, like, man, it's just going to be so much money to take all of this off, take it to the tip, and then pay all the money for the drainage aggregate in those areas. And in the end, I think it'll look really nice to just have the concrete here as I've indicated in those strips, and have those pebbles in between it. It'll look really nice, and again, like, just saves all the concrete and saves all the money for it. The other area is, I mean, the fence is not brilliant as you've seen on the pictures, but I think as opposed to building a fence, we just had this replaced here, and that was about, I think it's about $4,000 just for this little part here, and it's just getting so expensive to do it for the whole area. And it's just a box standard fence. It's not even one that I really wanted to have. But as opposed to kind of taking all the fence off, putting a new fence on, and spending so much money, I think it's just worth water blasting the old fence and then just painting the whole lot in a really dark color, and it'll give it a really nice backdrop for the bonsai. And other things, yeah, as I said, like the stepping stones, super easy, collected on the beach for free. Try to get as much free stuff as you can if you want to embark on something like that. And there is a whole lot of free stuff around on Facebook Marketplace or on Trade Me even more for very little money that you can get. These ones are also going to be stepping stones, which I still have to collect, and then there is going to be a bit of a setback, like 1.5 meters between the existing building and the new building, and this is also just going to be a little kind of landscape feature, which is going to be very light. So because I mean, not that this is going to be a dark area, because it's open to the air, but it's because this bedroom looks into it. It'll be really nice to have just maybe a little Japanese kind of a filigrane little Japanese maple tree in there, and then just some stepping stones and again the pebbles. And this is, we're just going to leave all as grass and not touch that. And yeah, I think that's it. That might give you a better idea of the whole area without having it all explained just from the video, but actually having a look at some plans, what the whole thing is going to be looking like once it's finished. All right, I hope that helps. Yeah, if you find that content interesting, I was initially just thinking to do it for myself as a bit of a documentary, and to have a look later what it was like and what it turns out at. Just let me know in the comments if you like to see the progress of it, and then I will probably just turn it into a multiple part video. One maybe just about the water fountain, one how I'm going to build the planter beds and putting the pebbles down, and the stepping stones as well, and yeah, just show you how the Japanese garden is progressing. As I said, if you like the content, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. That'll help us out a lot. And yeah, I hope to see you in the next video.